All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just talking about business strategy, we're talking about filmmaking. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to take all that market research and turn it into a blockbuster story. And in this story, your customer, they're not just some number on a spreadsheet. They are the star of the show.
I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. How many businesses out there are just flying blind? They're pouring tons of money into marketing, into sales, into product development, but they're basically doing it all in the dark. Why? Because they don't really know who they're selling to. And that leads to wasted money, missed opportunities, and products that just fall flat. It's literally like trying to direct a huge movie when you have no clue who your main character is supposed to be.
So here's the big idea, the main takeaway for today. Your business is the movie. And what makes a movie great? A hero you can root for, right? A character that feels real. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to write their story. We're going to build what's called a buyer persona. Think of it as a detailed character profile for our star customer. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so here's our plan of attack. First, we'll get to know our main character. Then, we'll build out their profile. After that, we'll talk about gathering intel, validating their pain points with a SWOT analysis, and finally, we'll cover your strategic next steps. Let's roll.
So first things first, what even is a buyer persona? Well, think of it as a semi-fictional character profile of your perfect customer. And I say semi-fictional because it's not just made up, it's built on real data and actual research. This is way more than just a list of demographics. It's a living, breathing guide that basically becomes your North Star for everything. Your marketing, your sales, your product development, it all starts right here.
All right, now for the really fun part, actually crafting the character sheet for our hero. See, a powerful persona isn't just some fuzzy idea you have in your head. No way. It's a structured, detailed document that really brings your customer to life. This is what separates the pros from the amateurs, So let's break down the key pieces you need to build one. Okay, a really solid persona is built on what you could call 5 key pillars. First, you've got the basics, demographics. Then you dig deeper into their goals. What are they trying to achieve? And, just as important, what are the challenges getting in their way? Next up, buying triggers. What's that final push that makes them look for a solution now? And finally, you figure out their preferred content so you know exactly how and where to talk to them.
This is where it all starts to feel real. Let's build one together, okay? Let's say our hero is a startup founder. Per demographics, maybe she's 35 running a small tech company. Her main goal, to land that big Series A funding round. But her biggest challenge, her pain point, is that she can't keep good employees. High turnover is killing her growth. And the buying trigger, the inciting incident, she sees a competitor just landed a huge client. So how does she research solutions? She's always on the go, so she's listening to podcasts and scanning newsletters. See, just like that, we have a real person, not just a data point.
But here's the thing. A great character profile isn't something you just make up. It has to be based on reality. It's grounded in field research. So to build a truly authentic persona, you've got to get out there and gather some real-world intelligence. This isn't about guessing, it's about investigation. And there are 2 main ways we do this.
And this part is so important. You have to understand there are 2 sides to the story. Think of it like a detective. You have qualitative research. This is your interviews, your focus groups. This gives you the why. It's where you get those juicy, emotional quotes. It's the story. Then you have quantitative research. Your surveys, your website analytics. This gives you the how many. It's the hard data, the scale. One without the other is like having only half the script. You need both to see the whole movie. And this quote really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the power of that qualitative side. It's all about bringing in the humanity of your customers. Look, spreadsheets can tell you what happened, but only talking to people will tell you why it happened. This is where you find the real stories, the emotions, the frustrations. This is the good stuff, the raw material for your character.
So once you've got those rich human stories from your interviews, you need to find out if they're just one-offs or a widespread thing. That's where a smart survey comes in. You structure it logically, right? Start broad with demographics, then narrow in on their business, the competition, and finally get specific feedback on your brand and product. This is how you take a story you heard from one person and prove that it's a real problem for hundreds, maybe even thousands of others.
Okay, so we have our character. We know their story. We know their pain. But here's the million-dollar question. Is this a problem we can actually solve? This next step is where the real strategy comes into play. We're going to connect the dots. We're going to take what the customer's feeling on the outside and see if it lines up with what's happening on the inside of our own company. And to do that, we need a trusty old tool from the strategist's toolbox. I'm talking about the SWOT analysis. You've probably heard of it. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's pretty simple, really. It's like holding up a big, honest mirror to your company. Strengths and weaknesses are all about you, the stuff you can control. Opportunities and threats are about the world outside, the market trends and competitors you have to deal with. This is the tool that bridges the gap between their world and ours.
So here's what it looks like in practice. On the internal side, a strength might be your awesome, one-of-a-kind technology. A weakness could be, say, high staff turnover. On the external side, an opportunity could be a hot new trend in the market, and a threat, a new competitor just popped up. The most important part of this exercise is to be brutally honest with yourself. No sugarcoating.
All right, now let's connect the dots. Imagine, during all your research, the interviews, the surveys, you keep hearing the same thing over and over. Your persona's biggest complaint is your customer support is slow, and honestly, it's just not helpful. Okay, that's a huge piece of the story, right? That's the external view from our main character. And then, you go back and look at that SWOT analysis you did, and right there, under weaknesses, you see it. High staff turnover in the customer support team. Boom! That's the light bulb moment. That's the connection. The customer's pain isn't just a random feeling. It's a direct symptom of a real internal problem you already identified. You've just found the core conflict of your entire story, and you've proven it's real. So, there you have it. You have your hero, you know what drives them, you know their central conflict, and you validated it with your own internal data. Now, the analysis phase is over. It's time to step into the director's chair and start making some moves. This validated persona gives you everything you need to act with confidence.
So what do you do next? Here are 3 things you need to do, no excuses. Step 1, finalize that persona document and get it in front of everyone in your company. Marketing, sales, product, everyone. This is the script you're all working from now. Step 2, go back to your marketing and make sure your messages speak directly to those pain points. Show them you get it. And step 3, maybe the most important, you have to prioritize fixing the internal weakness that's causing the problem. In our example, that means figuring out that staff turnover issue and fast.
But before we finish up, a quick but really important warning. A piece of advice from the strategist's playbook. Please remember, this entire story you've built rests on the quality of your data. Garbage in, garbage out. If your data is biased or incomplete, your persona is just fiction and your strategy is going to fail. Period. And look, AI can help you process all this stuff faster, for sure. But it's just a tool. It's not a substitute for your brain. You still need human experts to look at the output and ask, does this actually make sense? Context is king.
And that's the whole process. You've gone from flying completely blind to having a crystal clear hero, a core conflict, and a strategic plot to get to that happy ending. The script is written, the story is just sitting there waiting for a great director to yell action. So the only question left is, are you ready to take that chair?